Welcome to another episode of Your Not So Normal CFO. Today we're going to talk about the CFO and servant leadership. For those of you who don't know what servant leadership is, it's very simple to define. You have a job, you have responsibility, but you don't have a paycheck. It's called volunteering. So why is servant leadership important when it comes to the CFO? We're going to discuss the history, the skill sets required, the learning opportunities, the teaching opportunities, compliance, and bringing discipline to non-for-profit organizations. So let's get right into it with the history. How did I get involved? Well, how I got involved was at the college level, was a member of the radio station. Radio station did a benefit for multiple sclerosis, so therefore I was automatically volunteered for multiple sclerosis to raise money annually during our radiothon. And then when I graduated college, I went to see my best friend, and he handed me a bank book. And I said, "What's this?" He said, "This is a bank book for a men's club, and you're the treasurer." I said, "What does the men's club do?" They said, "We don't know yet, but we have money." So of course, as you know, it takes money to do something. That little bank book, that men's club, became a volunteer ambulance corps in an area of Queens that did not have ambulance service, and that was started in 1973, and to this day is still operating. Then I went to work, and my boss came to me and asked me to go to some dinners at an accounting organization called the Institute of Management Accounting. Well, I went, and I liked it. So I joined. And after I joined, I found a new job, leaving New York City and coming out to Long Island. Lo and behold, one of the gentlemen in the accounting department at that company was on the board of directors of the local chapter of the Institute of Management Accounting. After attending 2 or 3 dinners, I was asked to join the board of directors. I have now been a volunteer servant leader in the Institute of Management Accountants for a very short 48 years. So that's really the history. There were other organizations that I'll talk a little bit about later, but for right now, that's how it all got started, and that's the history. It was very satisfying, which is the thing that you want to have when you do servant leadership. You really want to enjoy it, and in my case, I did, I still do, and I have many, many friends and contacts and business resources to account for that servant leadership. Now let's talk a little bit about the skill set. CFOs have very different skill sets depending on the type of company they work for, their background, their education, but the basic skill set of a CFO is accounting and finance. Those two things that you bring to a volunteer organization or a non-for-profit is very, very widely needed and can be provided by a competent CFO on a volunteer basis. Now, nobody says you have to be on the board of directors, and nobody says you have to be chairman of the finance committee. You don't have to be treasurer, but you can be a member of the finance team that helps the non-for-profit in the area of accounting and finance. The other thing a CFO has, which is very important to non-for-profits, is systems. And when I say systems, I don't necessarily mean computers. What I talk about is the system of how to do things, how to do the accounting, how to record the accounting, how to interpret the accounting. Those are all systems that are in the purview of a CFO. But also many CFOs have IT capabilities, so helping with the computer systems or software that's going to be installed is also something you can have input to as the CFO and a member of a non-for-profit board, finance committee, or just a member who just wants to help out. There's also legal compliance. Now, yes, there are many lawyers involved with non-for-profits, and they handle the legal systems that are involved in the company. The legal compliance has a lot of finance and accounting in it. So you can assist the lawyers for whatever has to be done to keep up to date with what needs to keep the non-for-profit out of trouble. A number of years ago, I was on the board. I was the treasurer of a non-for-profit, and New York State changed all the non-for-profit laws and what you had to do to comply in New York State. As the CFO, depending on the size of the company, you can also get involved in operations. Now, what fallacy that I have found over the years as it relates to non-for-profits is this. It's a business. The fact is they just don't pay taxes. But at the end of the day, it's a business. If you look at some of the larger non-for-profits on Long Island, like Long Island Cares, Long Island Harvest, Leukemia Society, American Heart Division that's here on Long Island, they're running a business. In addition to raising money, they're providing services, they're hiring people, so they're a business. And the CFO can be a big help in helping those operations run smoother, more efficiently, and of course produce the accurate records that are needed in a non-for-profit environment. Now, I talk about learning opportunity. I will have to say in 48 years with the Institute of Management Accountants, I've learned a tremendous amount. Think about me as a 25-year-old accountant working in a company, dealing and sitting next to at a non-for-profit meeting of the Institute of Management Accountants with the CFO of Johnson & Johnson, IBM, 3M, and other major companies. 2016, when I became the chairman of the board, I had to attend certain meetings at a very, very high level in the accounting profession. So at a meeting with the Financial Accounting Standards Board, who make up all the rules and regulations having to do with accounting, I was sitting with the former chairman of the Financial Accounting Standards Board, the CFO of Johnson & Johnson, the controller of General Electric, the controller of Microsoft, the controller of American Express. So if you thought that I was teaching them, even at that time in my career, I was really learning from them. So there's a tremendous amount of learning activities as you get involved, or keep your years going within these non-for-profit. Now, I also talk about teaching opportunities. You also have to remember that, look, no matter where you are in your career, there's somebody above you and there's somebody below you. So you learn a lot from the people above you, but you teach a lot to the people below you. I know in many situations I have been the teacher, the mentor, the instructor to employees of non-for-profits, to other volunteers. In the case of the Institute of Management Accountants, where I was the chairman of the board in 2016, the chairman of the board that retired last year I was a mentor to him over the years and taught him a lot about how to be a servant leader and how to teach others. So as much as we give, we also learn and get. So what we get, we could also pass down to those that we give to. It's just something that you'll do in your career, and there's no reason why you can't do it as a servant leader. And as a servant leader, you also interact with employees. So you can teach employees. I was brought into the Huntington Arts Council. Not that I'm an art fanatic or really have an appreciation for the visual arts. I'm more into the performing arts. But on the visual arts, what I was able to teach them and teach the employees was better accounting, better budgeting, better reporting to the board of directors. So we take our skill sets as a CFO, we pass them on to other people in the profession, but at the same time that we're doing that, we're also educating the board of directors as to what their financial knowledge is, what they should look for, what they should strive for, and how they should manage the non-for-profit when it comes to money and finance. Another area in servant leadership is compliance. And as we think about compliance, we think about tax and legal. Those are pretty straightforward and set, but there's a lot of compliance having to do with operations of what the non-for-profit is going to do. And any non-for-profit that deals in children knows there's a lot of compliance issues, a lot of legal issues, and a lot of regulation. Any non-for-profit that deals with the environment or the physical land also has those kind of things to look out for. So the CFO has disciplines in their DNA that can help them work with other board members and employees to make sure compliance is adhered to. Finally is discipline. If you're a CFO, you have discipline. Whether it's financial discipline, management discipline, employee relations discipline, you have some sort of discipline that gets you ingrained in the companies in the position that you're in. You can work with whatever you're doing in a servant leadership organization to be more efficient and more effective. There's always a better way. There's always a smoother way. There's always a faster way, never sacrificing results or accuracy. So that's what a CFO brings to servant leadership, and what servant leadership brings to the CFO: recognition, relationships. I have friends probably from the Institute of Management Accountants almost in every state and many foreign countries because of the camaraderie that we have when we volunteer. So here locally on Long Island, one of the things you might think about is getting involved as a CFO or as a controller or as an accounting manager to help somebody in the finance area to do better jobs, better financial reporting, and better interaction with the board of directors. My finance skill, I was just asked to be on the committee for the Long Island Fight for Charity, which will be held November 20th at the Long Island Hilton. I've gone to 3 meetings at this point in my new position. I really enjoy it and have put some input into their finance committee. I will be helping with the running of the event on November 20th. So servant leadership becomes very rewarding and very important. So thank you for watching this episode of Not So Normal CFO. Make sure you tune in to the YouTube channel, Your Not So Normal CFO. And when you do, make sure you hit the notification bell so you will be automatically notified when the next episode is available for viewing.